Let me see here. And we are live. Hey, everybody. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. It's your girl, Stephanie Ray Songbird, coming to you live from Houston, Texas. We are excited as we continue to celebrate. Well, actually, this is our last Sunday that we'll be doing Freedom Fridays on Sunday, but we have been celebrating 10 years of service to our families and our communities, and we are still breaking cycles. So again, thank you all for rocking with us. Again, this is your girl, Stephanie Ray Songbird. We are excited about what we're doing, what we will continue to do to help support individuals and families who are impacted by trauma. Our whole point and purpose is to help restore, heal, and build healthy relationships to help people come out of dysfunction. And that's exactly what Freedom Friday is about. This is one of our segments among many things that we do to have those conversations necessary to help others break cycles. And so with that being said, I always want to catch up with those songbirds. Like I said previously, if you have done anything with Songbird in the past and participated and supported us, you are a honorary songbird. So we are here today coming back with some of our songbirds that have partnered with us over the years. They have the same mission and goal, and they're doing the work. They are boots on the ground. And so let me introduce my good people today. So excited for them to be here. And we're just going to talk a little bit, reminisce a little bit, and catch up with them and see where they are and what they are doing. And so I'm of course going the way I see it on my screen. So y'all bear with me. On my screen, I want to bring my very good friend. We actually grew up together in the same community, same church community. We have cousins of cousins, so we might as well say we're family, right? And so I want to introduce to you Author Candi Eduardo. She's an author, she's a life coach, she's a survivor. She is amazing, awesome, and we will get to talk to her shortly. Also want to introduce my sister and my friend, Rachel Lockett, Minister Rachel Lockett. I'm so glad that she is here today. She is a creative, a phenomenal singer, a phenomenal. She has what we call the relationship room, and I'm not going to talk about it because it's not mine. I'm going to let her do it in just a few minutes, right? And she also has an amazing nonprofit, Free Mankind. And so we'll talk about that a little bit today, but thank you all so very much for joining me today for just to catch up for this discussion. Just want to see what you all have been doing. Now, I'm going to start with Candi because actually in Houston, because y'all know I'm originally from Garland, aka Dallas, right? And I've been in Houston now about 11 years. And so I messed this word up last Sunday, but I got it. I'm officially a Houstonian now, is what they tell me. I don't think so, but I'm gonna let y'all ride with that. We're gonna rock with that, right? Because I'm saying I'm in Houston, so shout out. So anyway, Candi actually kicked off our first event that we did officially. So when I came here into Houston, we do have the creative side, so the artistry and the band piece is connected to Songbird. And so we actually partnered with an organization where the band came out and we did a concert. But our official first, actually hands-on, inviting people out, dealing with breaking cycles, Candi spearheaded this. And so at the time, I don't even know if she remembers, she had authored a book and it was Dethroning Domestic Violence. And so I got a copy of the book and those wheels went to turning and the Lord was like, yeah, we need to push this and we need to put this on. And so Candi's book actually launched the first discussion we had where we sat down, came and we sat at the table together as women to deal with relationships, which is, as y'all know now, that's what I always do. I'm always somewhere at someone's school, someone's college campus, talking to the young people about being healthy and loving themselves. And so because Candi is a survivor, she put this book together for other women, even men, because we know men are also affected, that may be going through domestic violence situations or abusive situations. And she put this book together. I think it was a compilation And it's took off. And so on that day, I think we probably had about maybe 19 or 20 women that were present. We begin to go through different things that we deal with, or even some of the things like we're here today having those hard conversations that we should have. We should talk to our children about, right? So we can deal with the stuff that's hidden, so we can really heal. And when I tell you phenomenal and amazing, God showed up, and you wasn't a dry eye. Wasn't a dry eye in the house. I think my brother Daniel was there, him and his wife. They had just had the baby was in the doggone crib, if I can remember right, like in the little carry-out, right? So I just think about how far back that was. That was in like 2018. And look at where we all are now, right? Like 10 years or so later. So Candi, I want to open it up to you. One, how you doing? What are you doing now? And then also, how have we helped you, or vice versa? What impact has Songbird had for you, and vice versa, over the years?
So, yeah, that was a great first event that we had. You never know what comes of something that is birthed from a book that the Lord tells you to write, right? And so, what helped me is understanding how women are affected by abuse, and partnering with you and seeing different stories other than my story, because our stories are different, right? And so since our stories are different, it just opens up your eyes to see the different traumas, the different ways that people are dealing with things, and that gets you to open up to say, okay, well, it's just not this, it's more than this, it's bigger than this. And it gets you to a point to where you're just like, okay, I have to go deeper. There's more to this that I have to find out and figure out how I can reach more people through this book and through all the events that we've had together. And so, currently, what I'm doing now is been seeking the Lord uh, daily, and having an understanding how I can truly be effective when it comes to spiritual side of things, relationships, warfare, a lot of things that I did not know, and spending time with him to know how I can effectively begin to help women in marriages and relationships, and just within themselves, because we have to know a lot of things that we grow through is from issues of our bloodline and our own issue, our own problems, and things that we face, and things that we have, the decisions that we've made. And so I'm just, here to be a support and be a betterment for women and be a voice for women, to let you know that it is okay that we have fallen, but don't stay down, because there is a solution to it.
I'm glad that you brought that up. And so definitely the trauma, because that's definitely my baby. I
Hmm.
I see trauma, I can see what you present, but I know there's always a root cause. And that's one reason I am in the work that I do, right? Because you said our families, things that we have not dealt with, things that we grew up with that are generational. And sometimes we don't even realize that we have passed it down now that we're adults with children, right? I know for
Hmm.
me, was that all my life I had to fight. I promise you, I have been
Yep.
fighting my entire life, but it's for now, like for such a time as this, from the spiritual perspective. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about it when we before we get off today. But Songbird, of course, we definitely deal with those hard conversations from the spiritual place. This is also where this started, having the conversation. We know as African American women, and I say this all the time because I'm an African American woman, we grew up in a different type of culture. All of us came
Mhm.
from somewhere. All of us have backgrounds, right? Not saying one is greater or less than the other, but there is different things, or stereotypical things that don't get addressed in
Yes.
the household, right? Just because of where we came from. And like I said earlier, not a discount to those that raised us, not a discount to our parents, right? What
Right.
they gave us is where they were, what they got and what they thought was best for us. And as we grow and go through our situations, we realize, yeah, I really don't think that works for me, right?
Hmm.
And so that's where change can come in. In order to have change, you got to deal with self. You got to self-reflect, right? And so I'm a firm believer that you cannot deal with the natural without dealing with the spiritual. And so that's where we are as far as from the perspective of counseling. And we go in and have these conversations, or we do these type of events because there's a root. if we just deal with the surface of things and never get to the root, we'll never see a change at all. And so I definitely love that you said that, like, there is a spiritual component to that, right? I am a person of faith. I know you all are women of faith, right? And so we definitely can attest. And no, not everybody believes like that, and that's great. And I'm not trying to convince you otherwise, but I'm gonna walk out, what I've learned. I'm gonna walk out what I taught. And so being able to meet people where they are, I think even that conversation needs to be had, because, looking back, it's like you couldn't understand, what was happening or what was going on or why I had certain behavior, because you wouldn't talk to me, right? Or it's like, this is what I said and this is what goes. But like, just because you said it doesn't mean it's working, And so here we are in the house with family, those that are closest to us, right? And we're damaged. We're damaged goods, right? We're living in the house. We can't talk to each other. I mean, I'm not talking about from the perspective of just, some of us have dealt with abuse and things like that, but just the conversation. I can't talk to my mama. I can't talk to my daddy, and we're in the same house. And then I go to church, and y'all all know the people I live with. So I don't want to talk to y'all either. Let me just be honest. And me and Candi are talking from that perspective because of our upbringing, right? It's like all y'all can kick rocks, right? And now I'm mad and I'm bitter and I wish you would, right? And so here I am going from adolescence to teen years to young adult years, and I still got these walls up. I still got this attitude, right? I got kids now, and it's like, oh, now we're finna raise some more little Stephanies, because there's misunderstanding. So I definitely believe that that's where we should start. It has to start, for one, with a conversation. It has to start with vulnerability. And I always say we all have our role that we play. We all play a role, in some ways. We all played a role. We can't really say, I didn't do nothing. Yeah, even in you not doing something, that was something, So not for us to stay in bondage, but for us to get free, right? So we can really, really heal and we can be better. A lot of us are stuck because we still got this stuff on us, right? And if we don't get it off, we're gonna continue to be stuck. And I think at some point, I'm in my 40s, like I feel if I was still stuck like this at 40, it's detrimental. When we know older people that are older than us that are still stuck because they have not dealt with this. So I definitely agree with that. Dealing with the spiritual side, so we can be free. So thank you, Candi, for what you do. I mean, you do so much. We had the dethroning domestic violence. We also partnered together with Song of Faith for a little while, where we were trying to, do the shelter and the transitional living, for the women. A lot of times we know when we're dealing with domestic violence, because I work for a domestic violence agency now, that common question is, well, why you just don't leave? Yeah, it's easier said than done, right? And so even in experiencing that, what can we do so we can help, shift the person out of a traumatic situation, right? A lot of it has to do with, where am I going to lay my head? Where are my kids going to sleep? And because I don't have that or the necessary support, then I stay in something that's volatile, and that's a cyclic type of thing that we choose to break here at Songbird. So yes, a lot of work that we've done and a lot of work still needs to be done.
Yes, and that is and it's funny that you brought that portion of it up, because I realize that the Lord is not going to allow you to elevate until you deal with the things that you need to deal with. So there was a lot of things that were on hold and didn't go through, because it's like, you know what, now looking back, oh, how would have handled that, of helping somebody else, but then I'm still traumatized, or helping somebody else and
Yes.
I'm crying for you and we both, and so that wouldn't have been good. And so I'm grateful for the growth. I'm grateful for the understanding and what we were trying to do. And so now when you can go back and do it, you've built that foundation to say, okay, it's time to go.
Yes, indeed. In a better mindset, in a more healed perspective. So I definitely agree. And so to go forward, as we prepare to talk to our next guest that's here, and y'all know me, I'm technically a challenge, so I'm making sure that we are still live on this Facebook, and I didn't click the wrong button. Y'all give me just a few seconds. We're going to speak it into existence. We're going to have a tech person in a minute, so I can quit struggling with this. 1 second. Let me just make sure that we are still live, and we are. All right, good, good. And so, yes, still breaking cycles for those that are just joining. We just finished talking to Candi. Candi Speaks, and I'm gonna put all her information, of course, in the comment part of this live so you guys can get back in touch with her. Now, I want to introduce my next guest, and I hope she can still hear me. I think she is still on. I was looking at her. Rachel, are you still there? Let me make sure she's still there. Hold on. We might be having some tech.
Yes, I am
There you
still
go.
here.
Okay. All right, so y'all, let me introduce my good friend and my good sister, Rachel Lockett. Again, me and Rachel, we met as we were talking about women, of course, and just what we just said about, how can we be of help, providing maybe shelter or something that can get them out of those traumatic type of situations and break some cycles. I met I met Rachel at Gracewood. And so I always like to give a shout out to Gracewood. Gracewood is here in Houston. It is a transitional living facility for single moms and their children, and they are awesome and amazing. And so it's funny how God does things, because I met Rachel before I met Rachel. Let me explain that. I actually met Rachel's sister before I met Rachel. And it was funny because the Lord has a way of, when you meet somebody, like, don't I know you? Like, I do, but I really don't know where I know you from. And so what ended up happening, of course, Gracewood is a part of my story here, and that's not why we are here today. But myself, when I came to Houston, I needed a Gracewood, and God sent me there to Gracewood, and then he sent me back full circle to work at Gracewood. But while I was there at Gracewood, getting what I needed, for me and my son, I met Rachel's sister, Mary. And Mary came through there like twice. And I'm gonna tell you about the fire that's on Rachel's family line. They got fire. I'm just gonna say it. They got fire on their life. So we had to be in what they call I guess you call it therapy sessions, or therapeutic Tuesday is what we call it. Is where we did the groups, and the moms got to, do counseling in groups together, right? Which is what I do now. And so we're in the group, and God is always multifaceted. So we have strength, but then there are things that we need, because iron sharpens iron. And so we're in group, and I'm chilling like I do, until I need to say something, and we're talking about the word. And so Mary's in there. I forgot what had happened, but she was there for a minute. I don't know if it was a flood or something, but anyhow, they asked for us to pray. Now, I hadn't said anything the whole time, because I'm just listening like I do and observing. And so who gets to pray? Me and Mary get to pray. And it's not your typical prayer, because I know that we're in this transitional place, but we know God. And I'm not saying they didn't know God, but we were like, yeah, we ain't having whatever was going on. We about to cut it up. And I didn't know her then, but after we got through praying, she looked at me and I looked at her, and it was like, high five, like, come on, right? And so this is her sister. So when I met Rachel later, it was because I was working there, right? God sends you through the wilderness so you can help somebody else. And she had come back, and she was singing, and she was presenting there for the women on that day. And she's like, don't I know you? And for some reason she knew my name. I'm like, I can't put my finger on it. And it wasn't until later, after we had connected and everything, that we realized I knew her sister, right? But I'm like, that was a God thing. And so I was so happy to introduce her, because she is an amazing anointed vessel for God. Like I say, sings like a bird. Like I say, songbird, but she sings like a bird. Very creative, and we've worked on many things. I remember we did the monologue. I think that's the first thing she had me do. She was having this monologue, and it was powerful. I can't even remember. I think it was one night only or something like that, but it was so powerful. Again, empowering women, encouraging women, right, to come out of this stuff. And my thing is, you're not your trauma. This stuff happened to you, but it's not who you are. It's not what God created for you to be. So that's what Rachel carries. And she has an organization, like she was talking about earlier before we logged on, her baby, who's not a baby anymore. I realize how old I'm getting. Freeman is driving. And so I was like, what? okay, these kids are growing up, or either we just getting old, but oh my gosh, he's driving. And when I met Rachel, I think he was 8 or 9 years old. So it's like, wow, time has flown. And so I want her to tell you a little bit about her organization. It's an amazing organization. And also tell the good people about the relationship room, and then just your relationship with myself and Songbird, and the things that you are doing now, Miss Rachel.
Oh, Stephanie, thank you so much for the powerful introduction. I appreciate it. I appreciate God for you. I appreciate God for honestly for your consistency and just who you are. Like you're one of those people, Stephanie is going to be Stephanie no matter what season, no matter what time. And I just thank God for that. You're a powerful woman. I remember even when we were working at this place for the for single mothers, they would give Stephanie the hard cases, like the ones that I couldn't handle or anyone else couldn't handle. They would go to Stacy. And so it is amazing just to see that you're still passionate and you're still walking in your calling of healing women and restoring relationships and restoring them back to God. So I thank God for that. You've been very instrumental into my life, and I appreciate that. And so, yes, I too was a single mother, and I had a son. His name is Freeman. And so, even out of that, I uh, once God got us over on the other side, I said, I wanted to give back to single mothers. And so that's how it came to be, free mankind. And so we've been a blessing to single mothers. Actually, I've sent mothers back uh to the place where we did for full circle at, and they're thriving and excelling and meeting goals. And I just thank God for that. And then two, you know, the relationship room is pretty much birthed out of I grew up very religious. I grew up, in church, loving God, but really very religious, no relationship. Um, and so that's pretty much, I wrote a book about, about it, my journey from religion to relationship. And so it's called My Love Letter to the Church. And so it just talks about, my journey from being religious into having a real full-fledged relationship with God, because really that's what it's about. He wants a relationship with us. He doesn't really care about, our practices and what, all that other stuff. He wants our heart. He really truly wants our heart. He wants our relationship. He wants our time. And so now I have I wouldn't say a podcast, but where I share on YouTube, the relationship room, where we push where all content is Holy Spirit inspired to push you into a thriving relationship with God, yourself, and others. And so this in this particular season, God is dealing with me literally on relationships with him, with ourselves, and with others. And so you all talked about cycles and repeating cycles and bloodline cycles. um a lot of times, if we, like she said, if we don't deal with the root cause of things that so-called, may trigger us, or things that we will, go back into. One thing I did realize, that even when I was in the world and I wasn't serving God, and just relationships, I would meet the same types of guys. And what I had to realize, and they were very emotionally abusive. So what I had to realize, if I did not get healed, or get healed from that spirit of rejection, that spirit of abuse, or abandonment, and get to the root cause, and where that spirit had to get up out of my life. What happens is, when that spirit is in you and it lays dormant, it needs to eat. Spirits, just like your spirit man, it needs to eat. With the Holy Spirit, we eat, we feed ourselves with the word of God. And so, just like when an ungodly spirit is housed in your soul, a spirit of rejection, abuse, any of that, it needs to eat, it needs to feed itself. So what'll happen is, you'll subconsciously create situations and do things and go into relationships that you really that God wants you out of, just so that, so it's not you, it's the spirit. You know what I'm saying? It's the spirit that needs to be cast out, that needs to go back into the abyss and never return. And so I deal with a lot of, I deal with some of those things, and try to help women, because I do recognize I have a heart for women who desire to be married. I really, really do. And so, right now I'm, doing a series on um I just finished one on grab your panties and run. And then I'm doing one on don't open the door. And basically God is telling, was sharing with me, this will be a season, if God is pulling you into marriage and you're desiring to uh be married, to deal with those old offenses. Don't bring old stuff and offenses into a new relationship, because you'll be you're and I have done it. I'm only, because I can only speak for what I know. You know what I'm saying? Your husband will be paying for stuff he didn't even do. You know what I'm saying? You'll be looking at him sideways for what somebody else did, and he ain't even do nothing. And so it's important, as God is bringing those destiny partners into your life, and bringing those people into your life, that we just, we heal from, just those past offenses and past things. So yeah, that's pretty much, where I am. And like I said, God has been good to me. He's been amazing in my life. I have a story, just like we all have a story. But at the end of the day, I just give God all the glory.
Man, I saw some expressions on Candy face like, yes. Her whole face was like, come on here. Yes, come on in the room. Indeed. This is good. And y'all know my mind. I'm trying to contain myself, but I already know that I see the training and I see the activation. We are celebrating 10 years, and part of the training for me is the spiritual mentorship, right? Even after we deal with something or we deal with the root, we do need this continual mentorship, like what Rachel is talking about, what Candy has talked about. When you have dealt with trauma or you've been in a place of survival for so long, like you said, what has been feeding your spirit was the other stuff, the rejection, the abandonment, the abuse, right? The molestation and all the stuff negative, right? And we need the mentorship. Just like you get saved and you give your life to Christ, if you don't get discipleship, you're gonna be back out there, because it was peaches and cream and you was feeling bells and butterflies, when you accepted Jesus. But you got to go back out there in them streets, right? So you got to get strength, you got to get balance. And so for a lot of us, especially that have been dealing with trauma, since maybe even before the age of 2, right? That's a repetitive thing. And we know the enemy, he has a stronghold, right? He don't want to let us go. So we get healing in parts. And then when we don't have the support or the substance, right? Or we go back through something hard, our body or our spirit, man, is going to try to go back to what was the normal. And so we end up self-sabotaging relationships, right? We end up going back into behaviors, some of us manipulative behaviors, because it's what we know, it's what we've learned, is how we've had to survive. And so the aspect of what Rachel is talking about, that's the mentorship all of us need. Of course, Songbirds deals with the whole family. I don't just deal with the women, the whole family, but I really am going to petition the men, because the men need this too. But anyway, that's a sidebar. But we need that continual mentorship. When you've been broken, you're going to need help until you get that balance where you can stand, because the enemy's going to come back to try you. We talked about generational curses. Even right now, I have a family that I'm dealing with, but their warrior is the matriarch, because she recognizes, you know what, this looks familiar to me. And the reason why it looks familiar to me, because it happened to me, right? And so she realizes how to fight, because one happened to her and she's truly healed, right? But she's also gotten support, so it doesn't pull her back to a place. So the baby that she's trying to intercede for, will not get the help that she needs. And so we need to get this type of support. So right now I'm seeing that this is a this is a conversation that we're going to have, some type of conference, just like we did the throne and domestic violence. I see it because it's definitely needed. So I'm telling y'all now, we probably need to come back together and come to the table and see what happens. But one thing I've been talking about, I actually was recently at Gracewood for the last 6 weeks, and I did a healthy relationships boot camp with the ladies there. And the last thing that we talked about, God downloaded something to me while we were talking. We talked about patterns in attachment, how you attach, meaning how you grew up, who you attach to. Attachment style is important because it can change when you're healed. If you did get secure attachment, you might have got dismissive, avoidant, and there's other words that we can use, but we don't realize sometimes how that particular experience, it causes us to relate to everybody in a particular way if we're not healed. Just like Rachel said, you're trying to get married, but you bringing your old into your new, and you beating your husband up or you beating your wife up, right? And they didn't do anything to you. And so if you can realize where that root start or where the patterns are that you have in relationships, like where did this come in? When did I start accepting this or entertaining this? Or when did I become bitter and not able to receive, the good things that God has given to me? If you can figure out where that root entered, then you can destroy it, right? And you can heal. And sometimes healing happens instantly. And sometimes we know that it's a process. And so the things that y'all are talking about, for those that we are trying to encourage and empower, right, and help them lead normal lives instead of dysfunction, this is the type of stuff that we need. I had said it last week, because of what we're doing. I believe I'm actually petitioning the faith-based organizations. That's why I'm on here on Sunday, because a lot of the women, a lot of the families that we help, they go to church, right? They're sitting in somebody's church and they going home broken, maybe even worse when they came in there. That's a problem that bothers me. And the reason why I can speak to it, because I was a church kid, I was different, but I realized nobody in here, and God has his reasons why. I understand that. But because I know what I know, and I'm sure y'all can attest, and y'all can come off of mute and speak on it, because of where you've been and how God had you walk through, I feel like I'm obligated to help the next person not suffer through in silence, So I'm a charge the pastor, the deacon, the son. I mean, and I am a minister, but I will come in there and tear the whole building up because we're called. That's what we're here for, right? Why are we here if we're not gonna say something, And so y'all can come off and talk, but I feel like what we do in some capacity, and I say that respectfully because our parishioners, our leaders, they have a lot on their plate, those that are really sent by God. And sometimes they can't, it's not that they don't see it, they just don't have enough manpower to do that. And that's why God will send us. And so I feel like this should be a resource, maybe you're not stationed at the church, but at least if you can't deal with that, give that family or that person a resource so they can get help. And I've said it often from the perspective of domestic violence and the things that we deal with. Like you go into the church bathroom and you'll see the flyer for the community picnic. But if I'm a woman that's, been in an abusive relationship, I'm trying to get out, at least put the national hotline for domestic violence up there so I can at least see it. You know what I'm saying? Like there's nothing like that if you think about it in even our churches or faith-based agencies sometimes, if y'all want to piggyback, I feel like I'm talking a lot, but I'm crunk right about now, but definitely,
No,
yeah.
you're good. I like the way what Rachel said when we talk about patterns and things that are within us and relationships and stuff. A part of my story, I realized that we attract who we are, and that's a hard pill to swallow right there. Okay, um, as much as we are ready to marry and ready to get in relationships, you got to know what's within you because you're gonna attract that. Okay, and my God, when you say you have a story, there's a story that a lot of people need to understand. Don't be so quick to get in a relationship, especially if you don't know what the extent of what has attached to you through your trauma.
That's
And
so
I say
good.
that often, what you said, don't know what's in you, because knowing what's in you is knowing what you want too. So healing was in you first, and then that healed version of you will be totally different. You'll What you wanted unhealed will be totally different from what you desired healed. You know
Yes.
what I mean? And a lot of times I tell people today, me and my husband, we're kind of opposites. And the real unhealed version, because I had did some healing before I met him, but the real unhealed version of me would not have even seen him. My eyes wouldn't have even been open to his kindness or character, anything like that. I would have said, "Oh, he's too nice," or "Oh, he's just too, he called me too much," or and so yes, I agree that the healing part has to definitely take place. And once that healed version of you uh is present, you choose better, you
Indeed.
see better, you have more clarity in who you are
Yeah,
and what you
because
need.
yeah, we date from a cycle, or not even that, from patterns and behaviors. And like you just said, I've been choosing people based on my hurt. Once I'm getting healed, I'll be like, first of all, and I tell young women or young people that I talk to, if you come and tell me, man, I got a problem with such and such, I'm gonna ask about you, right? Why are you attracted to this? That's the first question that I'm going to ask you. Why are you attracted to this? Because you gave this access to you, right? And to make them think. And sometimes that's the thing. Some of us need to be challenged, with our behavior. Why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you allowing what you're allowing? If we can talk about that, then you can really clearly see. It may be that you have a self-esteem issue. You don't think you can do any better. You don't think you deserve a healthy, that's what I asked. Do you not think you deserve a healthy relationship? And that is not just from a romantic perspective. That's from friendships, to job and career choices, all of that. I tell people one thing I say over and over, the most important relationship you're ever going to have, besides the one with your creator, is with yourself.
That's
Know
right.
thyself. You tell people how to treat you or mistreat you. If you don't love you, they're gonna run all over you because they're gonna see you a mile away. Oh, I'm gonna get over on that one because you don't have no care about yourself, right? So that's the first person you need to deal with is you, right? I remember telling my boys, and I love telling this story to young people because they look at me. And I'm just like, I've always loved God. I'm not telling you I've walked where I am now, but I've always known God. But I told my boys, I was married and divorced, and I said, listen, I said, if you see a young lady and you like them and they like you, amazing, awesome, good. I used to tell them, don't touch. And this is how I would tell them. I said, if they cannot deal with you, because it's a boundary, I call myself trying to teach them a boundary. If they cannot deal with you not touching them, then they're not the one for you, right? And so when you're talking about even saying that to the adults these days, because one, my standards are going to be different than your standards, right? We might love the same God, but we might just live differently, right? And so I'm talking to them about, when we're talking about marriage, this is a lesson you're not going to get on Sunday morning. The marriage ain't really, it's a marriage. When y'all not married, I said, did y'all consummate? Did we what? I said, did y'all touch? You married spiritually. And that's the thing we're talking about. You've allowed something spiritually to connect to you, right? Now y'all fussing and fighting and you want to break up, right? And you wondering why you're still having issues. Because spiritually, you're still connected. I had to learn that for myself. Nobody talked to me about, they'll always tell you wait till you're married, so on and so forth, right? But because of where I've been in understanding, oh, so not only am I dealing with my own stuff that I may not be healed from, I've connected to Joe, Harry, you know what I'm saying? Now I'm over here
Base
trying to deal
stuff.
with Michael. You know what I'm saying? So really, not only I'm an adulterer in the spirit because I done married 3 people, and here I'm gonna marry another one. Like I'm like, they're not gonna talk to you like that on Sunday, but I'm gonna talk to you like that right now. Ain't no shame because I'm a safe place. Talk to God, get it off of you, right? Break it, sever the tie, because that's something we don't talk about. That's really out of 100%. That right there is about 50% of our issue because we don't realize the things that we've attached. That's a transfer. And women, we're nurturers, right? We're incubators, right? That's who we are anyway, right? And so we carry that stuff. And then if you are intercessor and all, I mean, that's a whole nother story that I can get into, right? But we carry that stuff, right? And then we pop up somewhere else. And that's why that cycle happens. I was telling them about patterns, and I said, see, first of all, we have a problem because we feel, because it's just our nature. We're the helpers, we're the caregivers, we're the mothers, right? Sometimes we're the big sisters. I said, we feel like we're the solution, right? And sometimes us feeling like we're the solution, we take on stuff that is not ours, and we don't realize it until we get in a hurt place and we're trying to figure out what just happened. Why did you take that on? Because somewhere in you, you saw this person and felt, I can help you. I'm Superwoman. I can do that, right? And they let you, right? Got what they needed, wore you out, wasted your oil, and now you over here and we got to pick you back up, right? So those are things from the spirit. We're talking about the spiritual part too. That's the spiritual component of it that we really, really need to like have that conversation, dive into it, and also providing those tools. Like, how do I fix this? Something tangible that you can hold on to, right? I remember I used to keep something on my mirror when I got to certain places in my healing. So when I got up in the morning, no matter how I felt, it was there. And I'm like, this is what God said. And this is, no matter how I feel naturally, this is where I'm at spiritually, right? So I can know how to tell the enemy to shut up, hush, stop talking to me, because I'm not there, I'm here, right? So even if it's something like that, that will help, and some people might say that's corny. Corny all you want to. I've been free for a long time, and I know what bondage feels and looks like, and I'm not going back to it, right? And I'm trying to help you out because you think you free and you're not. You really not, right? So definitely, while we are here today, I am just excited about what God is doing in both of y'all's lives. Y'all are, like I said, y'all are amazing, amazing women with a story to tell and with the anointing and the power of God to go with it. We break cycles. We still breaking cycles. And I'm glad that y'all are in my corner, right? I'm glad that I'm in your corner. If y'all need me or vice versa, just I'm a phone call away, a text message away. But like I always say, we will never run out of people to help. So let's do this work. Let's do it together, right? And get people free, right? Free for real, so they can walk into their true purpose and the true identity that God called them to. So thank y'all for joining me today. And like I said, it's short and sweet. Just wanted to have a conversation.
Yeah, that is great. I like conversations. I like speaking with other women and seeing, their story and what they've gone through. That I love it, because it brings hope. It's like, yes, another one. Oh, yes, another one. I love it. I love it, and I love hearing people's stories because I can't wait until the Lord releases me to tell my story because again, when you come from the mud, when you come from not understanding who God really is in your life to where you are now, you can bring so many more people because a lot of people think, oh, you have to be this way in order for God to use you. Listen here, okay? No,
Listen.
listen, okay? And I just love it from different, perspectives. Those that grew up in the church, those did not grow up in the church, and those that you thought you knew God and you didn't, you really didn't even know who he was. And so and coming from a healed place, and yes, and I totally agree with you when it people in the church, God, that's just the most hurtful conversation to even have, of knowing that you go home still hurt, you go home and still dealing with the same issues. And that's definitely a topic that needs to be talked about, and I don't think they ready, but it's coming.
Oh, they're ready. They didn't know they was ready, but they ready. It's time.
It's time,
It's overdue.
definitely.
It's overdue and it's time.
Definitely.
Yes. Um, so as we're closing out, of course, the celebration, but we're still doing the work and we will continue to do the work. Again, I'm doing this on Sundays for this very reason, to just reach out there are a lot of faith-based organizations that are doing the work. Some of them know what work is needed and they need assistance. So that's why organizations like myself, you guys have organizations, things that you do. That's why we're here, right? To come alongside and to help. And so I definitely want to say that in any way, for those that may catch the replay, that those that are watching now, if we can partner with you in any way, let's sit down, let's have a conversation. Go to the songbird.me.com. I'm going to put Candi and Rachel's information in the comment part so you all can reach out to them and see the work that they are doing. Go to Amazon. I know their books are available. I know Candi's are on Amazon platform. Rachel, where can they purchase your
Same.
book? The
They
same thing
can
on
purchase
Amazon?
they can purchase music and books on Amazon.
Okay, cool beans. Okay, so
I
you
love
can,
I love hearing people sing. So I'm definitely gonna check that out.
yes.
Listen, take me to the Lord, okay?
Take you right on in, indeed. So you can check Rachel's books and music out on Amazon as well. And so I will put that in there. Again, Rachel's her book, My Love Letter to the Church. Y'all better go on and read it. Y'all might feel some kind of way, but get your healing, get your deliverance, get yourself free. This is the kind of stuff that is overdue that we need to talk about. Last year, Songbird did something called Rewired, and it started from the thought about, do you think it's time to change your mind? What lies have the enemy told you? And if you realize it's a lie, are you stuck? And why are you not shutting it down, right? Replacing things, right? So the behavior can change. And we took it from the perspective of as a child, right? From even little things like what was taught to me as a child, right? Not just getting abused or trauma, no, just in general, what was I taught as a child? And how am I operating now? Something to the simple fact, I asked a young lady, what do you do? I'm a nurse. Oh, cool. You like it? Yes, good. What made you, want to be a nurse? Because my grandma and my mama did it. That's a good answer. But is that your purpose? Because she was not happy. She was stagnated, right? So get into the root of why you're doing the things that you're doing, right? And if it's not, some stuff is good stuff, but it may not be God stuff for you, right? So you may still be stuck. And so the thing is, the question is it time for you to change your mind, right? And I would be mad because if I've been living a lie, I was like, for you to really sit down and think about, why do I do this? And who lied to me? And then you got to go back and try. They might not even be here anymore. You might just have to let that go. I'm glad you found them. They're not here. God forgive them, keep moving. But you have the ability and the opportunity to change. That's God's grace, right? So rewiring, we have to sometimes rewire the things from the things we've been taught, from our experiences, all that stuff, because it shapes and molds us into who we are now, right? And are you living in your purpose? Like, are you healed? Are you happy? Are you whole? Are you stuck somewhere? Is there a rut or a trench that you're stuck in? If so, you need to address that, right? So you can get free and get mobile and get to moving. And so that's why we're here. And so again, thank you all for rocking with us. It's been 10 years and we continue to go up from here. If you go visit the songbird.me.com, you definitely can see some of the things that we do, the services that we offer. And that's the thing I'm talking about, partnering to provide these type of services for our family. We even do training, and we do train, the leaders in the congregation. I'm a firm believer. You need to carry Jesus in love, but you also need to be trained. I'm a deliverance minister, right? And that looks different. It ain't always about people falling out. It's people that fall out all day and get up and still be the same thing when they walk out the door. We need that type of balance as well. Everything is not the devil. Some of it is trauma, and we need to get to the root of it, right? So we train on that to give trauma-informed care to the clergy or to those that are in ministry type of position. So we would love to partner with you. This month, we want to make sure we let you know we are launching we had soft launch, but now we are in full blast. A safe place trauma center, Christian counseling and mentorship. Effective April 1st, we are launching in full. We will start our groups. So you can go online, you can sign up for groups. One of the groups will be Rewired, and it will be Healthy Relationships. The other group will be called Rewiring Death. And so one of our counselors is dealing on terminal illness. And I know that might sound really, really cryptic in a way, but from the spiritual standpoint, it's twofold, right? Because Jesus rewired for us when he took our place on the cross, right? And so when you're dealing with terminal illness, you have not just the person that's dealing with the illness, but you have families and all that around that need support, right? Especially from the perspective of faith, because they may feel like God has failed them. And so I'm not doing a group, but I know it's amazing based on what was shared. And I can see God's hand on this. I say, yeah, God, you have a way of dealing with stuff in us, but rewiring death. And so that will be offered April 1st. And we'll also be doing more groups. And as we have more partnerships, that opens up for more things like this. Like the relationship room, I could see so much with that. I've been to the relationship room twice. That's all I'm gonna say. And y'all need to experience it for yourself. Like one time I sung, right? And then the other time I was over there in the corner praying because it was just so much going on. But you got to experience the relationship room for yourself, right? And so these are things that we offer. Again, y'all, the only way y'all gonna get this, y'all gotta attach and connect, and let's have these conversations. And let's get to work, let's get to work. Good stuff happening. God is still with us. And I always say the sun is still shining. No matter what, the sun is still shining. So I love you all. Thank y'all so much, Candi, Rachel. Thank y'all so much for being my special guest today. And we need to get together, soon so we can see what else we can do to tear the kingdom down, the kingdom of darkness down. All right. But yeah, y'all take care. Be safe. And we will see you soon. It's your girl, StefanieRaeSongbird, coming from Houston, Texas. Love you. There's absolutely nothing that you can do about it. See you next time. Bye.